Hey, Dom,
Hey,
how are
Mike,
you?
what's up? Happy solstice, by the way, the start of
Oh,
summer.
that's awesome. I never even realized that, but that is
Uh,
totally
I,
awesome.
I don't know if it's happy for you in New England.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, we've got a little heat wave going on in the Northeast. So, and I think it's going to continue into next week, which is probably going to suck because I'll probably be doing some visiting for the holidays. But but yeah, it's been today was actually nice, but
Good.
yesterday hot and humid, and
Mm,
it's the humidity that I'm fine when it's just a little bit hot, but man, when it's humid,
yep,
I
yep.
turn on the AC. Big fan. That was the best invention ever.
Well,
But
it's good that we visited the Alps for this movie.
yes, seriously, yeah, it's much cooler in the Alps.
Indeed.
uh,
So, for those of you following along at home, the movie we're discussing today is the 2016
yeah,
movie A Cure for Wellness. And I kept calling it The Cure for Wellness, but A
yeah,
Cure
it's
for Wellness.
a cure. Well, and that's another thing. Before you go into the intro, I actually think that is a play on words with that, with
Really?
the cure for well, because well, actually, go do your intro because I want to talk about that. I think there's maybe something that was meant, maybe it was you know just something that the way my mind works. But go ahead.
So the movie is about um, Lockhart, played by Dane DeHaan. And I hope
Do
I'm
it.
pronouncing that right.
Yeah,
Don't know if I am. But Lockhart is a corporate executive who is tasked by the board of his corporation.
a corporate asshole.
Maybe. I mean, let's
Yeah.
face it, we don't know that much about him
No, no.
beforehand. And so they task him with going to the Swiss Alps to a spa, an exclusive spa where their CEO has been at for several weeks. They've had little contact with him. The few letters they've gotten from him make him sound somewhat mentally unhinged, maybe.
Right.
And there's no sign of him returning. And they've got an important corporate decision coming up that he needs to be there at.
Well, there's also, and this is what one of the reasons why I said the corporate asshole, because he is going there pretty much with the intention we got to bring this guy back
Mm-hmm.
because we got a scandal going on and there's a problem and there's going to be an important vote, but it's not just the vote, it's also he's got to take a fall
Mm-hmm.
because all this stuff is coming down on the company. So that's how I understood it. That's why I said, because I think they were all all kind of corporate assholes, but the people who were sending him and
It's definitely like I was reading different things about the themes of the movie because it is, on the face of it, a psychological horror.
yeah,
And yet some people are saying it's a whole there's a whole capitalism versus human health
yeah,
theme that's going
yeah,
on underlying the whole theme.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. That I think that's a big part, and that's where I get into this thing about the title because it's on the premise everybody's going to this clinic, the clinic is beautiful. It's this giant, huge building, which I guess they actually like restored the building around the time that the movie was being made. I don't know whether the people that were filming the movie had any involvement in the restoration, but it was actually there's there's the building with some CGI background and everything added, but that building is an historic building, and
Yes.
I have
It's
a
been around
trivia.
for probably, I want to say 100 years.
It's been around probably longer than that because I'm going to ask you a trivia question now,
Okay.
and this is going to be you can answer this later. Save it. Don't answer right away.
Tell
We'll
me the
answer this
question.
later, but that building was used as a hospital, an actual hospital,
Yep.
for more than once. But in the First World War, the building was used, and the setting for the movie is what, Switzerland or
The study is Switzerland. The
yeah,
actual place is in Germany.
yes. And so here's my question. Um, and if you don't get it, there's no reason why you should know it. But my question is, during World War One, there were a lot of patients there. There was one very famous patient who was treated there, and
Okay.
that's the question. Who was the patient? And so answer later. I'm going to bring it up again. Hopefully, I remember. If not, you'll have to leave your your answer in the comments. But
Okay. So we've got this question hanging, and that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
But for the rest of the description,
yes,
Lockhart, the corporate executive, goes to the spa,
yeah,
and actually, before he gets to the spa, he's in a car accident. The minute he
yeah,
gets down, wakes up in the spa with his leg in a cast,
yeah, yeah,
and then is trying to get the CEO out for most of the movie. And then he's just trying to get himself out because it's an unconventional spa. Let's put it that way.
yeah. Well, he actually he did the whole thing. The hospital is rather nefarious to begin with. The doctor who runs the place is really, um, actually, he does make it to he makes it there without the car crash, and then they pretty much just tell him, no, you got to go away, and he's leaving,
Oh, that's
and
right.
that's what happens. He ends up he can't even get away from there, probably because they figure he knows too much. And that is one of the scene that's behind me. I don't know how much of that was CGI. I know there was some CGI added because I saw like an actual scene of the bridge, the rail bridge, but it's not. It's a beautifully filmed movie. Dom, this was your pick, and it was an incredible pick. I
I've
truly
said this
loved it.
before. This is probably the prettiest horror movie I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's absolutely, the cinematography is some of the best I've ever seen.
It's
And I know
gorgeous.
there's CGI added, but it doesn't matter. It's a beautiful movie. I mean, look at this train shot coming in, and just the way that the camera angle was set up for this. It's just beautifully filmed, an incredible movie. So I do thank you for suggesting this movie because man, I enjoyed it. So
I got to say, I love this movie. I've seen this movie like 3 or 4 times, and I am
yeah,
not one that rewatches movies a whole lot.
yeah, I am. But I'll tell you what, I am going to be pushing people to watch the movie because there's so many scenes that actually I was blown away by several scenes with the just looking at views. You know you're looking out there, and again, like some of it is actual shots, other shots are enhanced with CGI, but it's just beautiful.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
like I said, looking at the outdoor scenes, you almost feel like you're there. It's that nice. So, but yeah. So as far as the name, this is what I keep starting to go to, but it's a clinic.
Hmm.
They are treating the mad doctor behind you.
Yep.
Um, he is treating these patients, and so they're very wealthy, well-connected people that are going there. And there's a reputation about the clinic that people don't know, they don't leave. And supposedly it's because they feel so good where they're being treated, and he's doing such wondrous things for them that they just stay there. Um, However, um, the people that go there often not only don't leave, but many of them are dying also. So in the long run, and the play on the name to me was also because it was supposed to be the idea was supposed to be a cure for wellness. So in other words, you're going to get wellness when you go there, but because of what you ultimately learn that he's doing,
Hmm.
I almost thought that you could interpret it in the sense of it's a cure for the fact that you maybe were well when you went there and you actually are no longer well. So it's a cure for your wellness. You're now sick because he's using these people in his experiments, which we find out much more later.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Yeah, so this guy, this actor behind me, that's Jason Isaacs. He plays Dr. Heinrich Vollmer
right,
in the movie. But I've loved this actor in everything I've seen him in.
yeah, I,
This
I
guy,
honestly, I honestly don't really know what other films that he was in. If if I hear,
British actor, I don't know
yeah,
all the films, but loved him in the British crime drama Case Histories.
okay, all right,
In the Netflix series The OA,
oh,
which
okay, yeah,
which is absolutely bizarre. Can't recommend it enough. And then one of the most heartbreaking shows because it only lasted one season, Awake.
wow, yeah,
So in the movie, in the TV show Awake, he plays a homicide detective
huh,
that is driving with his wife and son and is in a horrible car wreck. And when he comes to, either his wife or his son have survived.
huh,
And I say that because he exists in a reality in which his wife is alive, his son
yeah,
has died. But
yeah.
when he goes to sleep, he wakes up in a reality where his son is alive and his wife has died.
Oh, wow, that's kind of a cool concept. Yeah,
And he has to go back and forth between these realities that actually help him solve crimes.
wow, okay,
Because in one reality, he can get this bit of information,
wow, yeah,
and in the other reality, he got another.
yeah,
But evidently, the writers on the show were exhausted because of the painstaking measures they had to take to
yeah.
make sure there were continuities.
Yeah, the continuity is important. Yeah, yeah, and the other thing is fans of shows love to point out to you that you screwed up on continuity.
Yep.
So that's a real tough thing to. I mean, hey, even movies that don't have um, continuity issues per se, they'll still look at different things and they'll say, "Oh well, did you notice that he was wearing the wristwatch and that?" And he there was a different wristwatch and another thing. So I mean, well, that is continuity. But this actress behind me, I thought was amazing.
Mia
Um,
Goth.
yes, and she actually did an amazing job as this innocent who has like never experienced much of the world. She's pretty much grown up there in the at the clinic, and there's a whole mystery surrounding her origins and who she is and um, and her parentage and all that. So
What
yeah,
what I
it's
loved about her character is that she walked this tightrope between innocent young girl,
yeah.
innocent, virginal, ethereal, but then also otherworldly,
Oh,
where
definitely.
you're looking at her and you're like, is she really human?
Yeah, yeah, she was very ethereal. That would be the way I would describe her. There was very much an ethereal quality about how she, just the way she moved and the looks and the yeah she did that perfectly. It's funny because I actually read a couple of things online that there were criticisms both of the main character. What's the name of the character for the
Dane DeHaan playing Lockhart.
Lockhart? Yeah, um, and um, and then Mia Goth was also that people. There were people that said that they should have used a different actress, and my feeling was, man, the movie wouldn't have been the same without her.
No, I
She
thought
was
she was perfect in that.
she absolutely was, and she could go from a very innocent quality I mean, this scene on the bike, which I don't, he was asking if he could borrow her bike. His leg was in a cast, a full cast. And all I could think of is, how do you think you're going to pedal that bike with one, with one leg? But I mean, maybe you'd be fine downhill, but you'd be in a lot of trouble. So
Well, so are you
luckily,
going to risk it? Like if anything goes wrong on that bike,
yeah, yeah, it was all unfamiliar roads and everything else. But I actually thought that that was a whole fun scene when they actually went into the village, and of course the village is very everything's strange around there. But
and, and it's one of the things that I love about the movie is I love all things Lovecraftian,
yes,
and
yeah,
it's such an elusive quality for a piece of fiction,
yeah,
whether it be writing or movie or whatnot. And these guys did a great job of making the viewer unsettled,
oh yeah,
regardless of what was going on.
yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. It was that's actually a good way to describe the movie. You end up with a constant feeling of in your gut of being unsettled. It's
Mm-hmm.
you always feel no matter what they are doing, you feel like you feel like there's always a sense of peril and danger.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even in the village, when they went in the village, because some of the village people were very they were very hostile to the entire the entire clinic there and the people that went to the clinic, the
Mm-hmm.
rich people. And so as far as like this is another thing that this was almost like they were getting communion or something, the way they were constantly getting the drops.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and one of the, I read a number of little pieces online about like people that were trying to explain different aspects about the movie and what was going on and stuff. And I'm not even totally sure I agree with everything about it, because those drops, the way that the explanation that I read about that was that because he's actually there's a whole thing with the water,
Mm-hmm.
and the water, he's constantly urging everybody in the movie to drink. They need to be hydrated, and the water.
Which is always good advice,
Yes,
except for
absolutely.
at this place.
Yeah, yeah. At this place, yeah, I started getting the idea when he was pushing the water, and the guys, and of course, he's saying, "Yep, yep, I'll drink the water," and he is drinking, and I'm thinking to myself, "Don't drink the water, dude." And that was before I knew anything, but I kept thinking to myself, "There's something wrong with that water." Well, of course, he does find, and actually I don't have a shot of that one, but there is a point where he actually is digging into um, a glass that he's drinking from, and he sees this little tiny microbe kind of thing in the water, and later on, you definitely actually let's see, no, yeah, that's his finger with
Yep.
the little microbial device on it, um, but there is eels, and there's a whole thing, and like I said, I was reading about this, uh, but they were saying that as the person, because he's basically he's basically like getting he's processing these people, and they're getting sicker, and he's using the people to actually create these serums, which are a cure for wellness. He cured his the whole reality of what the whole thing is. The doctor is actually the original doctor, and the background story, that's something we didn't get into, but the original doctor that went to the clinic and was running this clinic, um, the townspeople started finding bodies, and they end up going at almost like a Frankenstein thing. They come after him, and his wife, and she was barren, and he manages to make her pregnant, and he uses the water and people from the village he's recycling these people. Um, so the villagers come there, and it's worked. His wife is now pregnant, but the villagers kill her. They cut her open, spill the baby out, throw the baby in the water, and um, they set her on fire. They kill him. Well, I don't know. I guess we later learn he escapes because he's not dead. He's actually the doctor who's been using the serum all those years and making himself like immortal. And so it's the whole thing is, like I said, is actually like a real crazy plot.
I
But
do have to say, if there's one weakness to this movie,
yeah,
it's the ending.
yeah, yes and no. It yes and no. Give me your take on it. But
So this movie this is my type of movie.
right,
Like if you're gonna uh, gather together movies that are uniquely me,
right,
you'll put things in like The Endless,
yeah,
and you'll put things in like oh, what was the other one? The dimension hopping one.
right,
But this is out of character for me because I'm primarily a story person.
yeah. Oh, you need a good
Like
storyline and plot. Yeah,
you can say, oh, this had beautiful cinematography, great costuming, it was a great period piece. Usually
but if
that
it's
means
empty,
nothing to
yeah,
me. If it
yeah,
doesn't have a story, a good plot, good character development to back that up.
yeah.
This the story is probably one of the weakest of the movies that I really like.
You're
But
saying this one?
this one,
Yeah,
I feel the story is very convoluted. It doesn't
it's
make a
very
whole lot of
convoluted.
logical sense,
Yeah,
but it's not just so gorgeous, but every scene instills such a sense of unease
yeah. Well,
that
I,
I rarely found that in a film.
see, I actually, I mean, I loved that. I love the sense of unease.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the plot and the storyline, I was actually very much taken in by it. And I do think there are people who had or will have an issue with the fact that the storyline it doesn't necessarily it's gonna have holes that you're going to have to fill in. And for people
Mm-hmm.
who don't like to fill in the holes in the storyline, they're going to you're drinking that water. You
Haven't
better
found
look
anything in it yet, but who knows?
but but um but no, so I had to say that.
You did
You picked
because I'm drinking like on a very similar glass.
I know that's what really got me was is your is you held up this glass and I'm thinking to myself, wow, he's drinking that same water. But but no, I like the fact that there were things that you had to like just kind of resolve in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely I don't know. I've met many people who can't handle that. They when they don't have all the holes nicely filled in, it drives them crazy. And an open ending or something like that drives them crazy. The ending, talking about the ending, you see the corporate people have arrived in a car right at the end when there's this great tragedy going on. The clinic's on fire. He's escaping on the bike with this girl, and he pulls up, and they are actually there because they realize, okay, the CEO is dead. They can't they can't rescue him, and so and bring him back to make him the scapegoat. So now their plan is to bring back the guy that they actually sent, Lockhart. They're going to bring him back, and they're basically telling him, get in the car, let's go. And he's like, and he rides off on the bike with this giant smile on his face, insane looking smile on his face. And some people were really questioning, like, why was he smiling and smiling like that. And I saw, a number of people thought he just went crazy, and some people were saying, and this was seemed to be the predominant conclusion, was that he knew now what the cure for wellness was, and he was going and he had survived the initial thing, and now he had become immortal, and like the doctor, and that he was going. I didn't necessarily see that. I felt he was happy he got out of there. He had the girl.
He's
He was off.
alive.
Yeah, he was alive, and I think he felt like that. He also decided he wasn't going to go back with those corporate assholes too. So I think he felt a sense of freedom, and I thought
Well,
that's what.
I didn't realize it on the first watch,
Yeah.
but there is a very anti-corporate, anti-capitalist
Yes.
theme
Well, yeah,
throughout
and,
this.
and the director talks about that. Yeah.
Right. So like the CEO initially went to the spa because he felt his work at being the CEO of this company was making him sick.
Yeah.
And now he has freed himself from that. And whenever Lockhart talked to any of the people having treatments at the spa, they
Right.
would sort of echo that. Like modern life, modern society has perverted what it is to be human.
Right.
And so now, at the very last, Lockhart has abandoned that corporate culture, that capitalist society, and he's happy just to be going off to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly what I perceived. And I didn't feel like, as far as the ending, I did not feel like, for some people, like I said, they would have looked at that as being too open-ended, or that it didn't explain enough. I was fine with that ending. I felt like, there were maybe some mysteries around the entire clinic operation and what the doctor was doing, but I think we got enough information that I was happy with what I did get. And
Mhm.
the guy was a mad scientist. He was doing some crazy shit. Um, Now, this scene here behind me, I have to talk about this, because this is a dream scene, and I'm not a big fan of snakes, and I'm not a big fan of eels, and I'm not a big fan of either. I know there's people who keep, like snakes as pets and stuff. Just keep them away from me. I don't want anything to do with them. I never liked them. I don't. There's certain things that I love. I love dogs. Cats I'm decent with. But I don't like snakes, and I don't, and eels, same thing. I don't want rodents around me either. But just but but here's the other thing. This is a dream, and it's a whole dream sequence. He's having this dream. She's beautiful, the beautiful Mia Goth. He sees her in this bathtub, and as the shot comes in closer, so hey, beautiful girl in a bathtub, wonderful thing. But then it pans into this,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I'm out of here. But yeah, he ends up waking up realizing it's a dream. But some of the things with the eels, and I never did find out what they did for this scene, like whether they actually put her in a bathtub and
Yeah,
dumped those.
I didn't look into it that much. Like, you know
Yeah,
what? It's a great scene. Don't really
yeah,
need to know.
yeah. Like I said, no, but I just, because of the idea that, um, if an actor has to appear, I've seen the same thing with like rats or something else, and it's like, nah, that scene's not for me. But you would have really had to pay me a lot of money to get me to get into a bathtub full of eels. But now, here's another scene that I talking about, like, scenes that would freak me out. But that whole scene when they actually put him in that deprivation tank there.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, and I've never liked the idea. I know they have those. I know they have those tanks, like Michael Jackson used to use, but those I'd probably try, but this being submerged in water, and I mean, I don't see anything in his nose. Maybe they did put for, but
They did give him an oxygen thing.
yeah. Well, I mean,
I
he's
don't
got
know where it was, but he had an oxygen tube and he had a microphone that he could talk to the director.
yeah, yeah. So, but like I said, this scene here, of course, he's in this tank, and they told him you might hallucinate while you're in the tank. And of course, he's in the tank, and yeah, in comes this nurse, the orderly that's actually or doctor, whatever he was, it was supposed to be monitoring him and taking care of him, sees this woman come in, and she's playing this whole sex number on the doctor, and he's totally distracted by her, and they got this whole little scene going on. And meantime, he's down in the bottom of the tank, and eels are all around him, and he's freaking out, which I would be, I would be also, but I would
That,
not
that,
have.
like tub full of eels, not ideal, but I could do. You want me to undress and get in a tub full of eels? I can do that. This scene
Yeah,
in the submersion tank, no, no way.
yeah, 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 yeah. That was above and beyond. But and there another thing. This is a little bit of trivia, but the um, the doctor is reading a book, and I believe the book is Holy Mountain,
Yeah,
and which is about a guy,
the Magic Mountain.
Magic Mountain. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann, put out in
Yeah,
1924.
yeah, and the plot being a guy going to a mountain, and so it's that in itself, that was a little cute little bit of trivia there. But yeah, this was one of the scenes that I found hard to watch for the whole thing with the
There,
tank and the eels,
there
and
were so many things that were hard to watch. There was the dental work on
yeah.
him
Oh
without
my God, that
anesthesia.
yes, the dental work.
There was
I
there was him in the iron lung.
Yes, yeah, and those and those iron lung things. Oh my God, the iron lung thing when they, because now there's the CEO. He's in an iron lung himself, Lockhart, and right beside him is the CEO, and he's trying to talk to him, and that whole thing with the iron lung, that got very very hard to take,
Yeah,
because in comes the in comes the doctor with the with the equipment, and actually pipes the tube down. Now I don't know how in the hell, um, in real life, because he's jamming that tube down his throat, and years ago I had I had a heart test. You could probably say what the name of the test is, but I had a heart test where they put a tube down my throat, and normally the procedure for that is they knock you out,
mhm.
and they made me swallow this causticy smelling liquid, and um, they put this tube down my throat. I was wide awake. I could feel it, and I mean that thing felt like it was like, it felt like a garden hose going down my throat. And when I got done with the procedure, the the nurse that was there, I said, "Boy," I said, that was god awful." And I said, "How big was that hose that you were putting down my throat?" And she said, "This is what she did." Now I don't know whether she was lying or not, but that's what she.
So,
And I
so
said,
I'm not sure what that was, but I've
"Yeah,
seen something called a transesophageal
yeah,
echocardiogram.
that's what it was. That's what it was."
Oh my God, no, that is bigger than this.
Yeah. Well, I thought she was just screwing with me,
I've
but
seen him. I'm like, I cannot believe you're putting that down that guy's throat.
yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I've had it again, because I have a hole in my heart. So so I've had it done twice since then, but I was knocked out for both times. And when the doctor that the doctor that I had do the procedure the last time, I was telling her I was awake for the first, and she goes, "You were awake?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "They made me drink this liquid," and I said it was that, you know, that because they told me, they said don't smell it, and don't taste it, just chug it. And so I drank some, and then they said, "Okay, you have to drink more." Well, the second time I got like, I inhaled a little bit, and I
uh,
could smell it, and I was like, I immediately started to gag, and they were like, "Don't throw it up, don't throw it up," and I got it down, and then he goes, "You got to drink it one more time," and I was like, "No, no." So he was like, "Nike, you got to drink it one more time." So I did, and it does numb your throat to a degree, but there had to have been like a fairly large camera attachment on the end too, because I could feel that. It felt, I mean, it really felt more than the hose. We're getting off subject, but I'm just saying, the doctor that I spoke to that did the last one, she knocked me out for it, and she said you never should be awake for that. So she goes, "Why
I
they?"
mean, you're somewhat off subject, but that feeling of having these bizarre, unpleasant procedures done to you
Yeah.
kind of echoes the feel of the entire movie.
Oh yeah, yeah, because he is trapped. They have him inside the iron lung. He's trapped. He's laying on his back in the iron lung, and you can't move. I mean, I really, I've always, the idea of the iron lung, and they look like real iron lungs too.
They
But
do.
the whole idea of that always seems so barbaric to me. And I know they saved a lot of people's lives that otherwise would have died, but the whole idea of polio and being paralyzed and spending your life in an iron lung, it just always seemed not just barbaric, but I mean, more power to the brave people that had to live that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's awful, and I mean, to think that you have to spend your life that way, like I said, it's terrible. That's all I can say. But yeah, they shove this thing down his throat, and it's a big hose, and of course it's clear. So,
It's bigger than anything that would ordinarily be used in an actual medical
and
setting.
he's jamming that thing down his throat. So I mean, not nothing. And apparently they didn't give him anything for anesthesia, and he's just having that thing shoved down his throat. So then they open up this whole thing with, it's a container of eels, and that's part of the treatment. As these people, and this is, again, I read this part online, but because they don't explain this part in the movie, but as these people begin to, because he's been recycling part, their essence, so that he can create this cure for wellness. And um, and what he's actually, because there's a little shot in the movie of a container down the bottom that's collecting this liquid, and that's what's coming out of the bottle onto the people's tongue. I read that that was the sweat of the people. Yes, that's what he's actually collecting. And when the eels go inside the people, because that's what he does to this guy through the tube, these eels are going into the kid's body, and the eels actually, um, eventually just eat the people, and absorb their essence, and they go into the water, and there's this whole cycle of life with the water, and that's what
The
the water
circle of
has really
life.
cured. Yeah, it's a whole crazy plot and explanation. But what I did read, and they said, because you see him after he goes through this, which is horrible, and the really the next scene is you see him and he's outside, and I really thought he was done.
Yep, I
um,
did too.
he was sitting there, and he's just kind of a zombie.
Almost lobotomized.
Yes, and she comes out, and you can tell she pretty much thinks that he had given her a gift that he got from his mom, and it was a little ballerina figure from a music box, and that was his memento from his mom who had passed away. and he had given that to her as a gift. And I believe she really thought he was done, because she comes out to him and she hands him back, very sadly, hands him back the ballerina, like, you should have this because you're in such bad shape. But what I read about what happened with him was that because um, because he was young and healthy when he went there, where most of the people were already in some state of decay or cancer or whatever, um, he actually absorbed the eels. His body digested them. And there's a number of scenes that, like I said, the movie's cool. For anyone that wants to watch a movie that's just got a lot of fun going on in it. I mean, dark fun. This movie has so many scenes. It's very tense. If you like movies that are horror movies and suspense and a feeling of unease, this is your movie.
Counterpoint.
Yes.
I love this movie. Believe me, this
Yeah.
this is my pick. I've watched it 3 or 4 times. I would watch it again. It would be hard for me to recommend this to anyone.
Really, I
It
would
is
highly recommend
nearly
it.
2.5 hours.
Yeah,
And a
that doesn't.
lot of that is just pure psychological terror.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me just say this much: when it comes to movie length, because I've heard this argument before with movie length, and people that will say, "Oh, the movie was, it was god awfully long, and it was just so hard to sit through, and I hate long movies, and blah blah blah." It depends on the movie. A
Oh,
good
definitely.
movie, a good movie that is really, really well done. I don't care how long it goes. I want to watch it. I mean, I love a long movie that's giving me something. And you can have a short movie that feels like it's forever. I mean, I've sat through those. So if the movie actually is giving you something, and this movie kept my attention the entire time. And I
It was
told you that
mm,
my first viewing, I came home from a day shift, a very hard day shift where I'd gotten up at 3:30 in the morning, went in, did a 12-hour shift, came home, and put this on because I needed to get it watched. And um, I did fall asleep at the probably the last third of the movie. I got, it was actually around the scene where he's on the bench,
mhm.
and I remember falling out, and then I woke up and the credits were rolling. So I was like, God damn it. And I hate that because I like to see a movie straight through. But I was so tired, I turned it off. I went to bed, and the next day I turned it right back on and finished the movie. I did not fall asleep because there was anything that was boring me. The movie was kept my interest the entire time. I was exhausted. So so I fell asleep. But again, a good movie. I can think of 2 or 3 movies that were really, really long and people complained about, and I agree, those were slow moving movies. This is not that. I just really enjoyed it.
So
But
a bit of trivia for me.
yeah.
The director of this movie was Gore Verbinski. He
Okay.
directed The Ring.
Okay.
He directed the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Wow, those are.
And probably the most well known, he directed the Budweiser commercial with the frogs.
Oh my God, really? Yeah. I used to enjoy those.
But but just prior to making this movie, if you want to know some of the influences of this movie, I don't know if you're how much of a gamer you are,
Oh,
but have
but yeah.
you heard of the video game BioShock?
Oh yeah. I played it.
Okay. He
Played more than
was
one.
he had been working on making a BioShock movie.
Wow, really? Yeah,
He that they pulled the plug on
yeah. Well,
just before
those
this.
I'll tell you what, those movies actually played very much like a movie of the games. The games
Mm-mm.
played very much like a movie. And the atmosphere in those, I mean, in some ways, because it has the gothic feel of what this has also. But now the scene behind me is one of the more twisted scenes of the
Oh,
movie.
so twisted.
So twisted. So there's I said earlier there's a mystery about her origins, and it kind of I figured it out. I mean, I kind of like realized what was going on, or I had suspicions. Um, but he was actually very old. He was actually the original doctor that got away. His wife was the one that was burned up. And the baby that they threw in the water and thought had died, actually, because she was she was born of that mother who had the cure for wellness, she was able to survive. And there's a scene where she gets her first period and she gets into a pool and there's eels in the pool, and the eels normally eat people, especially if they're bleeding or their body's dead or whatever. These eels just swirl around her. She has become a part of what this whole thing is, and because of, and probably immortal, whatever, her flesh. And the eels totally are like, nah, we're not going to touch her, and they don't hurt
He's
her at
one of
all.
them, basically.
Right, right. And so here's the disturbing part of this film. If this is going to be something that is off-putting to some people, maybe this is it. But he has a big celebration. The upstairs area, there's dancing and celebrating going on, and he has her all dressed up down in the bowels of the sanitarium. He's got her all dressed up like it's her wedding night, and he's all dressed up, and he is actually her father. And that is what's extremely disturbing.
It
And
was so very disturbing.
it was, and so, trigger warning. Um, but this is his attempt to actually, he wants to breed with her like he had done with his wife, because now she's the special immortal, and he wants a kid with her. And luckily, in comes Lockhart, and Lockhart breaks up the horrible scene that is unfolding. And so luckily, he saves her from that. But I don't think I need to go into a full explanation. But ultimately, the place catches on fire. The girl and Lockhart escape, and that's the scene at the end when you see the CEOs all coming in, and or as I would call them, the corporate assholes, uh, come in. And I have nothing against companies and the whole democratic way of companies, uh, you know creating products and doing well. I think it's the democratic system. I'm fully for it, but there are some assholes that are in the corporate world, and some of the people that run the companies, they are jerks. And I mean, sometimes it takes a jerk maybe to make a successful company, but treat your employees right, treat people right, and at least be fair. But these people were just corporate assholes. But
Now,
anyway,
as an aside,
yeah.
how do you like Mia Goth's other work?
I offhand, I actually was reading some of the roles that she had been in, and I didn't even really realize some of the ones that she. And right now, you're asking me this, and I actually can't. What name a couple if you
I mean,
have
she's
any.
currently famous for the X trilogy.
Okay,
Studio
haven't.
A24 put out 3 horror movies.
Yeah, I
The
love
first
H.
of,
Yeah,
the
I
first of
love
which is called
A24.
X,
Yeah.
followed by Pearl, and now
Oh,
coming out will be Maxine.
okay.
She stars in all.
Pearl, I loved.
Okay,
And
awesome.
okay, there's actually, I don't know how many were made from that, because Pearl's the prequel. She
To
plays the.
the prequel to X.
Yes, and okay, I have seen, because I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, I haven't seen X. I have seen X,
Mhm.
That's the one where they make the porno movie in the out in the middle of nowhere,
Right.
and that those are both really really terrific. And yes, she is amazing in that, absolutely amazing. So yes, I do like her other work. I
Yeah,
mean,
she is the new horror darling.
yes, yeah, and again, I started to say it, but A24, they put out some of the best stuff. Their horror suspense stuff. They're weird. I love their weird movies. There's a number of movies that
They take
Midsummer.
so many risks.
Yes, they do. They pick up movies that other studios don't have the balls
Mhm.
to to pick up. The H all big shout out to A24 because
Been very impressed with them.
yes, if they keep going like they're going, I mean they're an amazing company, and I mean like I said, I've got nothing but praise for probably 2/3, 3/4 of what I've seen come out of their studio. I'm absolutely in love with. To
Mhm.
me, like I pretty much have bought everything, in the horror suspense stuff. It's just great stuff. So yeah, big shout out to them. So I don't know where we are in this, but I was going to say, so having heard that trivia question, I've got
Yep.
before I forget,
Yep.
um, having heard that trivia question about the hospital, which is behind you. That's one of the things that I thought it was fitting. You would just put that one up.
Yep.
But who was the patient?
So it's not like I haven't read a little about the history. I'm not
Right.
sure I've got the answer,
Yep.
but I'm going to guess Adolf Hitler.
That is exactly right. You're absolutely right. Good job. And
Mhm.
yes, because it was he served for Germany in World War I. Apparently, who knows? Maybe he took some shrapnel to the head. Maybe that explains some of the fact that he was so evil. But and he was an evil man. But he ended up in that sanitarium, and and they treated him. Uh, Unfortunately, patched him up and and let him go. Maybe if they had put him in a iron lung and fed him eels, would all be better off because he would have been consumed.
Yeah,
uh,
I didn't know for sure that
yeah.
that was the answer, but I heard that he had some of his political opponents, political prisoners of his lobotomized in the
Well,
sin.
really. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't. I can't say I'm surprised.
So,
you
so
know,
I mean, they chose a location really
it
well.
is it is Hitler. so, so, yeah, I mean, hey, I believe me, that was probably Dr. Mengele that was in this movie, but no, it's kind of a kind of a neat, weird piece of trivia. Now, there's a whole thing, and I don't have the stats on it, but there's a whole thing about all of the um, restoration work that was done on the clinic, and I don't know. I kind of it kind of made it sound like they did a lot of that work just to film it there, but maybe not. Maybe it was just part of um, the clinic itself. Apparently, is open to tourists to visit because they said for I think it was like 14 days it was shut down to the public while this movie was being made. So that's another little bit of trivia. But yeah, I like I said, it was to me the movie was just it was beautiful, it was fun, suspenseful, very weird, very there's the
Yeah,
bottle that
this was my pick. I give it a two thumbs up. I adore this movie.
yeah, yep, absolutely. I've got nothing but praise for it. I really can't when you talk about criticisms and you know things to say about the movie. I really can't think of anything bad to say about the movie. Um,
It
I
it
can't.
is it is long.
It is long.
It could have been It could have been a little snappier. And the thing is I was really hoping with the Lovecraftian feel with the eels, I was really hoping there was some non-human entity behind the scenes pulling the strings, and to find out it's just this old guy that wants to have incest. It wasn't the ending I was hoping for.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, probably that's a scene where the final fight with the doctor, he's
Mm,
trying to kill Lockhart. Um, no, I hate to say it, but in real life, um, probably a lot of what probably a lot of what the evil in the world comes down to is some horny old guy like a Harvey Weinstein or whatever
yeah,
that's trying to do something evil to
I
some
don't
young
watch
girl that
movies
he
for real life.
yeah, yeah. But I'm just saying, I think so much of what it boils down to with life is there's just some people, simple story of just some people that want to be evil, and unfortunately, a lot of times it's visited upon the beautiful young girl, like whether it's Harvey Weinstein or it's some doctor trying to knock up his daughter, which is the plot that in this one.
And with that, I gotta say, I think there's nothing more to be said about this movie.
I was gonna say, I think I said it all and probably in a terrible way too.
Yeah, I mean, it clearly conveys that this movie is a horror.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think I helped sum that part up. And this poor guy just trying to get out of his tank with his missing teeth. Now they did end up in the end. You could see that he had a full set of choppers because they were saving the teeth of the dead people and reimplanting them into the people that were still living. And you see that he has a full set of choppers at the end. And I'm thinking, great, he's got to go through life with a bunch of dead people's teeth implanted in his
Although
mouth.
he
So
he ingested the eels, he might have regrown his own teeth for all we
that's true. That's true because he actually was in amazing shape at the end. So, which hopefully he hadn't gone mad. I tend to think he just was happy
know.
as hell he was out there, but I'm sure he's probably suffering from PTSD. I know I would be after dealing with that clinic. But yeah, wonderful movie, despite the incest and the other stuff going on. No, it's now I'm just gonna laugh, but no, I I actually really enjoy.
it's,
That's
it's
my sense of
so
humor.
horrible, it will make you laugh.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, so I'll end it on that note. But yeah, I actually do highly recommend it. Believe me, the incest thing is one little scene in the
It's a
movie.
minor thing.
It's a minor thing. It's appalling when you see it. But
Appalling.
but again, it luckily it gets stopped too because Lockhart rescues the girl before anything happens. Really, he's fully intent on doing it, but
There's a happy ending. I
it
mean,
is. It's actually a very happy ending. So for a movie that's as dark and unsettling as the movie is, and a horror movie, and that in itself is a kind of a rare thing with a lot of horror movies. You
true.
you seldom see nowadays. They got to keep having the monster get back up. I mean, if Hollywood had made this the way Hollywood makes movies, the mad doctor would have been running down the road after him, and that's the way it would have ended. So or he would have got out of that car or something. So this was actually a pretty satisfying ending. So I fully recommend the movie. I know we laughed at different parts, and we me especially, but and there's this the way we probably explain some of the some of the depravity that goes on in it. Um, Hopefully that doesn't turn anybody off, unless if you're very sensitive, then yeah, don't watch it. But if you're somebody that can handle a little bit of stuff, then this is highly, highly recommended by me. So
Mhm. And
I give
again,
it
one of the
full.
most beautiful horror movies you'll ever see.
Yes, absolutely. It's, I mean, seriously, beautiful backgrounds. Even just some of the scenes indoors in the clinic and in the town, and wonderfully done film, uh, wonderfully executed film. And I had zero problem with the plot. I know you were a little bit critical of the storyline, but I really didn't. I thought it entertained me from start to finish. Um, and I even love the little they fleshed out even Lockhart's character, because the
Mhm.
scene on the bridge with his father committing suicide when he was
Yep.
young, and there was a tie-in with his father in the clinic and all that stuff. So yeah, like I said, I fully love the movie. So
I'm
happy to
very
have seen it.
curious to hear what you're going to follow this up with.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I've already got mine. I've already got mine picked out, and
Excellent.
so so we will bring you. And I think the pick that I have, it's probably it's not a horror movie. So it's a comedy drama. Um,
Okay.
and so we'll give you a little bit of change of pace for our next one.
A nice
Hopefully,
palate cleanser.
yes, yeah, yeah. Sometimes when you're drinking wine, you need a little piece of cheese or something to cleanse the palate. So this is I think an entertaining, fun movie that I've got picked out for the next one, and so I think we're going to bring you another good one for next week.
Looking
But
forward to it.
Dom, anything you want to say to wrap this up other than
No, I think we've said enough, and we got to save stuff for the next video.
sure, sure. So again, like I said, this was a fun one. It was definitely horror. If you're gonna watch it, A Cure for Wellness, and please leave a like and subscribe. I say this every week, but we're a young channel, a hopefully growing channel, and we really need the love and support from you guys. So if there's anybody that's checking back in from week to week, or new people watching, if you made it to the end here, hopefully you did. Um, people's attention spans nowadays are so damn short, and I mean, we're just two guys talking about movies that we love and enjoy and watch. So please support us, like and subscribe if you would. Share the channel with us too, with other people, because we need to grow. So thank you very much. And Dom,
Uh,
I will see you next week.
You'll see us next week.
All right. Take care.
You too, man. Bye.
Bye.